Minutes, financials for the consent agenda. You've received those by email previously. Are there any questions? You can address those. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. One item. On item 6A, I would like to remove that from the agenda. We'll just strike that. We'll go into that at a later meeting. So with that amendment, unless anybody else has anything they'd like to add or subtract, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Public comments. Would either of you public like to make a comment? Not really. All right, then we'll move on to item 4 on the agenda. Update from Lana.
Good morning. Prospect 3161, excuse me, is a transportation company that we're working with. We have found a site that we think is going to work very well for them, and we'll continue to follow up with them. They'd like to be placed as soon as possible. 3162 is also a transportation company, and it appears at this time that if both of them choose to come, we will be able to locate them fairly close to one another for ease of traffic control and so forth. 5161 met with a business last week who's interested in moving part of their, expanding part of their services into Finney County. We showed them some property that we felt would work well for them with the rail service and highway service that they needed, and put them in contact with the landowner. So that will hopefully move forward quickly. 5162 met with a company that working on some value-added agricultural products, and we've asked them to gather some additional information for us from their consultant, and hope to be back in touch with them again, hopefully early June. If not, hopefully at least by the middle of June, hope to have the information back that we've requested in addition to what they've provided for us. Senior living community, the large facility, excuse me, the ranch house is moving forward. All of their steps have been outlined for as far as the IRB and tax abatement process goes. Their site plans have been submitted, so they are in hopes to start construction as soon as all of the steps have been taken through the city commission. And there's various items on those calendars throughout the next month and a half. So certainly if you have any interest or feeling you need to be a part of that, you can check the city commission's agenda for progress on that. Transload site, we have new engineered drawings on that, and BNSF is analyzing the new anticipated new carloads that will be a part of this facility, as well as excuse me, as well as some of the new customers that will be attached to that. So we hope to have everything in to KDOT. KDOT's working closely with both the private stakeholder and with BNSF to make sure that we have everything that they need to make their determination on funding. Northwest Industrial Park, we had a discussion with Pioneer Rail Corp in April about the opportunity to get that rail going again out that's adjacent to the Northwest Industrial Park. And we've had another follow-up conversation with them, and one of the prospects that we're working with is actually looking to potentially locate on the Pioneers Rail out there, the Garden City Western Railway short line. So hopefully that will continue to move forward. Existing business assistance, we continue to help with supply chain management and obviously with workforce issues. I met with DFA, their new general manager, earlier this week, and we talked about some of their plans for hiring and when they'll need their workforce and which type of workforce they'll need at any given time. So we'll continue to work with them throughout that process. Also meeting with the community college as a follow-up next week to make sure that we've got all the training that we need in place and so forth. So DFA is working, we've asked them to get with some of their operations software folks and equipment people and see if they can get us some at least mock equipment that we can be using in the short term to get people trained up. Even though it's not a live system, at least it would give us some general background for folks to be able to train in advance for those positions. List of the May meetings that we went to. The June schedule, do note that we have CREDA scheduled for June 8th and 9th in Edwards, Hodgman, and Ford County. It's a whirlwind tour apparently of CREDA. So I will be attending parts of that, probably not all of that, unfortunately. And on upcoming events, we have the Garden City Wind Community Tailgate. That was the event that we partnered with the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce, the City of Garden City, Finney County, and the Garden City Journal to host folks and to get them started in going to the games early in the season, so that we continue to keep good attendance at those games. So far, they've had very good attendance this year, and they appear to be a very good team. So that is tomorrow evening, and we would welcome all of you, obviously, to come out and be a part of that. We'll have free hot dogs for the first 1,000 people that get there and pay their admission. So we'll see how
That's
quickly
like
we
from
run out.
4:30 to 6 with the hot dogs, and then
And there will be a
Oh,
ribbon
yeah,
cutting
yeah.
to celebrate the renovations that have been done at Leitner Field, and yeah, so hopefully you'll be able to make it out, part of that. Garden City, City of Garden City and Finney County have a town hall scheduled for the evening of May 31st, and that's a 5th Tuesday, so the city usually has a town hall that evening. They've decided to partner with Finney County on that town hall and to invite the public in to discuss the opportunity of starting a land bank, which we've talked about some. Just gives us an opportunity to get properties that are for some reason caught up in the legal process and we can't either get them sold or get them developed or anything. The land bank is an opportunity for the county and the city to work together to get control of those properties and get them back into a usable fashion. And then the Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament is June 17th. And that's all I have, sir.
question. You notice we've had several new prospects this month. I think we've got about 4 or 5 new prospects that are on the list now. So things are pretty active and continue to keep moving right along. So
I should mention too that we are continuing to work through the potential child care solutions. And we've got a committee working together right now trying to gather all the information that we need. How short are we of child care spots, and just what effect it would have on the community to be able to solve that problem. So we're continuing to work in that direction now.
Have you reached out at all to any of the quote-unquote corporate providers?
We're doing research on those right now. They've recently gone through several mergers, acquisitions, and transitions in that world. There's really only 4 primary corporate players in that, but they each have a different model. The one that appears to be the most usable for our type of needs has just recently had quite a few changes. They also tend to be an acquisition company. They tend to come in and take over existing childcare. So we're trying to figure out exactly how we would fit with them and how best to present our case to them. So we're trying to make sure we have all of our information gathered very similarly to how we did the senior living. And we want to make sure that we have the facts and the data to back up our request for them to even look at our community as a potential location. So we'll continue to work in that direction.
How big a site is the transport companies looking for?
They both have said 10 to 20 acres.
You might just, since we have some new people, you might just go through how your nomenclature system works, your 516-1, so, you know, just
The first number is the month, after the dash is the year, and after that is the order that they come in. So, they, as you saw, we had a 516 or a 316-1 to 316-2, it's because we met with both of them the initial time in the same month. So that just identifies that they're either the first or the second prospect that we met with.
And then after they're on that list for quite a while, if they tend to still be on the list but no real activities happen, kind of then comes a C or a D letter. Kind of an A would be a high priority, and then we kind of start backing off from there when they are either telling us that
We
we'll
don't
let you know
know.
down the road, but as long as they tell us we're still in the hunt or no decision's been made, then
Exactly.
they stay active.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? If not, we'll move on to next item. Nicole, would you like to update us on what you've been doing?
Good morning. We had the Gchs Job Fair on May 11th. We had approximately 24 employers that participated, 561 students that went through, and we had 2 employers that were hiring kids on the spot. I think right now we have we've sent out the employer surveys to see how they feel the job fair went, but also to ask them some questions of recruitment and retention problems that they're encountering, and not just with their student workforce, but workforce in general. So we've been having some really good feedback on that. It's surprising what some of them are saying, some of them it's not surprising. So we'll hopefully get those results in the next couple weeks and get that all compiled together. We still continue to work with workforce on the Fort Riley initiative. We had a meeting with St. Catherine to discuss the veteran-friendly initiative with that, as we discussed earlier. Through our contacts with Workforce One, jobs is always going to be a huge part with the veterans, but also the healthcare. So if we can we obviously have the jobs, we just need to get the healthcare in line, and we can hopefully get them here. So we met with St. Catherine's. They're very interested in helping us out with that, as well as getting some possible on-base training opportunities going up at Fort Riley as well for the healthcare industry here in town. I think as Lana, she said in the past, DFA is still interested in hosting their own employer day at Fort Riley, so we'll be getting with them probably early next year to get that going with them. And we also continue to explore education opportunities for Garden City Community College to be on base there too. With their mobile unit, I think there should be some good opportunities for them to go up there and train for some specific industries that we have here in town. With the Workforce Connection, that group's been really busy lately. They continue to work on the virtual job fair. Right now we have 5 employer videos that are going to they should be ready to go up on the website, right? So hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll get that up and going, and then we can really start marketing that virtual job fair on the website. Just recently, as of last Thursday, with the Special Populations Group, we're going to do a reverse job fair. It's a new concept that we haven't done before, but it's exactly what it says it is, where the employers actually come to the applicants, set up in, as they said yesterday, kind of a science fair type exhibit, and the potential employee presents themselves to the employer and kind of go around the room and interview them, and we're hoping that with that Special Populations Group that it'll really help them also to get a job, but also with their interview skills and interacting with the public and things like that. We have a couple of trainings scheduled for that, and I think we're looking at possibly mid-June to do that actual job fair. We're also doing some work with the Workforce One group based on the Workforce AID training. We've had some high school students that have showed interest in newly graduated seniors that are interested in getting into the workforce, and we've sent out some surveys to them, and we've had, I believe, approximately 10 students that are interested in doing the industrial maintenance training to get into the workforce. So we're working with Workforce One to hopefully get that curriculum going. I would say probably sometime in June or early July we'll get that going. I think right now we'll do it very similar to the Workforce AID with the industrial maintenance program. We do have some conversations going on with the college of getting it a little bit more class-based instead of curriculum-based, so that these kids can go in and kind of pick on a menu of, these are the classes I want to take, this is the certifications I want to obtain. So hopefully we'll get that going and it'll be good. As far as the Workforce AID, I believe they are winding down their training. We have graduation scheduled for Friday, June 10th. At the college, we have 6 applicants. We had one that left 2 weeks ago. We got a job with the PD, I believe. But each applicant, Tatro, or each employer, Tatro and Davis, each has three employees each in the program. So they should be finished June 10th, but everything seems to be going really well with them. Any questions?
On the survey results of the job that employers have given to you, is that something that maybe we could turn around and share with the high school students in the fall and this kind of stuff to say, all right, this is what is happening out on the real world, if you will, and these are the obstacles that employers are seeing that need to be redirected, so that it becomes part of almost a methodology of the teaching and responsibility, because I think in a lot of cases it is responsibility between the two entities, between the employer and the employee.
I think most definitely. I think a lot of the comments have been very interesting because I do think there's going to be give and take on both sides. I think our employers have to change a little bit of their mindset, but the applicants you're right, you need to understand what is expected of you in the workforce and what your attitude is and what attendance requirements, and it seems to be where we're really lacking on that side of things.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times that's missing in that whole process. You know, they're thinking paycheck and the employer's thinking something over here, and somehow getting to the middle so that both people understand when they enter into that relationship. I really like where that's headed. I think that's going to be good.
I think we tend to forget about the basics.
Yeah. Well, and here again, it's communication, and right now, these kind of things get in the way of communication.
Yep,
So,
that's right.
good. Well, it sounds really encouraging that there's a lot of things going on.
I think so.
Try to make people more aware.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like you said, Phil, I mean, we just forget the basics. I think they get taken for granted. And it's, you get some of these, just the kids, for example, from this job fair, you get in their resumes and you're just, for us, that was something that you took that as a school course and you learned how to do that. And I just think it's being taken for granted now, because of that. You have the instant gratification of a cell phone, and it's just, those things have kind of went by the wayside. So I think we need to put some more emphasis on it and get that professionalism back going.
That'd be great.
Yeah, Nicole and her group have been doing a lot of good things, working on the child daycare ideas and concepts and trying to keep those moving forward, working on the job fairs and the employment things in the community, and they've got some great things going, working on meeting with the people at the hospital, trying to get Garden City, Finney County, veteran friendly, and this is, not only just we're glad to have you here, but the medical community and everything else that goes along with this. When these veterans depart from the military, medical is a really big deal with them, and they want to know that these services are available to them. So these are a lot of things they're doing. I think Nicole's doing a great job with that, and she's definitely keeping busy.
One last thing on the kind of the continuation of the building bridges is, does someone sit down at the end of the year and say, all right, here was our 12 deals that we had issued last year, and we went through this, and these 4 worked, and these 3 were okay, and these 2 over here no one did anything with, and reevaluate, and we missed something, what are we doing next? What happens at the end of the year?
We actually sat down in February and March at both meetings and kind of discussed the outcome of the January building bridges. That format was a little different than the one that had occurred earlier in the year. So that one was much more student-based. And we did have a lot more student participation, but I think we kind of felt like the employers got a little disconnected from that one again. And the whole point of the building bridges is to really connect the employers with the school. So we're going to the next building bridges will be back, getting the employers back into the schools and taking the things that worked in the first one, but the things that worked in the second one, and kind of combining them. We want to still involve the students, obviously. So we're working on doing that. Obviously with Deb Drummer retiring, it's gonna be tough because she had so much to do with that building bridges, but I think we could probably still get a hold of her and get her to come in and help us. But we're working on that. We don't have a date set for that yet, but we did obviously go through it and see what worked and what doesn't work. And it continues to build. It's a great event, and it's getting recognition on the news, and so it's a good event to have. We're going to continue with it for sure.
But like anything, you can't just start it and hope it just stays going the
That's
same way. I like the fact that you're taking it apart and putting it back together. And I think that it's still really important to have the employer action, but also the student, and maybe it becomes 2 events a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you focus the 2 different places and encourage attendance of one or of both, but one is more focused toward employers and the other one is more focused so that the school gets to see the interaction of both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to continue to encourage involvement of Southwest Kansas schools, not just Garden City.
I was just going to say that. We've actually considered that of extending that invite for the next one to the area schools to see, even if they're not necessarily wanting to participate, if they want to come and just observe what's going on, then they're more than welcome to come do that as well.
Okay, sounds great.
So,
Now, are they replacing Deb Drum?
we hope so. As far as I know, they have not posted the position yet, so we'll see.
And maybe one of those casualties of,
Yes. Yeah.
that's
That's why I
too
was
bad.
asking the question. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Nicole? If
All right.
not,
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Nicole.
you. Good job.
Yeah, kind of in relation to what Nicole does, we use Shannon on kind of a contract basis when we need him, and seems like we need him and use him most of the time. And we were visiting yesterday on some things, and I asked Shannon if he would just come and kind of tell our board some of the things that he's working on. And besides Garden City Journal, he seems to show up everywhere. And so, Shannon, why don't you give us just a little bit of, I told him if he could, hold it 15 or 20
15 or
minutes.
20 minutes. Well, the big thing that we were talking about yesterday is the Community Services Council was hosted by the International Rescue Committee. And the person that talked there was Jessica Stevenson. And so they were talking at the Community Services Council about the resettlement process, how that all happens, where the first goal of the committee is to get them resettled, the refugees resettled back in their home country. And if that can't happen for whatever reason, they get them tried to resettle in the country that they're in at the time of the refugee. So if they're in a neighboring country, they try to get them resettled in there. And then if that doesn't work, then they move them to the third country. And in our case, that's in the United States, and specifically for us in Garden City or in the Southwest Kansas area. And so afterwards, we were talking about how that process happens. How do they decide what goes, who goes where? And she said there's in the government authorizes, the federal government authorizes 85,000 refugees a year to be resettled in America. And there's I think she said 9 over organizations that kind of divvy up those 85,000. And then what she said is it basically is a draft system where they go and each organization gets the different refugees at a time, and this happens every month or two, and they draft those individuals into the organization, and then they choose where to resettle those in there. And then we were talking about, well, how do we choose which, once it gets into the IRC, how do they choose where do all these refugees go? And specifically, how do they choose which refugees come to Garden City or Southwest Kansas versus going to those other places? And she said, well, a lot of it's the jobs that are available or the jobs that they perceive are available, and the housing situations and stuff like that. And she said, and family groups too is a big deal. But so since we have a smaller population, we know that we can get them employed at Tyson and places like that. We tend to get those sort of refugees. She said down in Dallas, they have refugees such as doctors and master's level refugees and ones that have a little bit higher level of English attainment because they don't have a problem with getting them placed down there. And they have that kind of pipeline going in that direction. And so the next question is, well, how can we get some of that skilled refugee population to come up here? Because we definitely have the need for additional doctors and additional master's level people of all walks of life. And she said that it would be difficult, but it would take a community effort to come together to make that case, to show that we have the jobs, we have the desire, we have the housing available at that level, I mean, at that kind of place. But it would happen, but we would have to get together and talk about that. So that's one of the things that we were talking yesterday at Economic Development is if we could pull together and meet with IRC and start to put together a plan to what do we need to do to start attracting those refugees, or what do we need to do to help IRC realize that there is opportunities for those refugees in our community, and we can take more than just the ones that are going to work in some of the places that they are now, which they are benefits to our community as they are, but we could take more in different walks of life. So she was open to a meeting with us and with the interested parties, maybe like the hospital in the city and other places that need to be at that conversation, so we can build our case to start maybe opening up that pipeline to those types of refugees. So that's my main thing from yesterday.
Sounds like to me like we need to trade for a higher draft pick, is what it sounds like.
That's kind of what I thought when we were talking about this, is we need to find some way in this draft, how can we trade up?
There you go.
You know, and get to a level where we can look at some of these professionals, you know, the doctors that are already skilled and trained and are licensed in their countries and are strong English-speaking people, you know, so they fit quickly into the community. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of sit down sometime with the appropriate group and discuss this, how this could happen, and maybe look at a whole new part. And that's why I asked Shannon if you'd talk for just a little bit. So.
Maybe make a determination on what level of medical care we're looking, or doctors or engineers or whatever it is that we're looking for. Make that determination, make a list, and come up with that. So.
Yeah, that's why I thought, you know, we've got a lot of representation in the community, you know, with relationships with the city and the county and the hospital and the schools, and this could make a real good nucleus to sit down and talk about these kinds of things. So how we could maybe get more involved as a community in potential recruiting from outside the country. So, any other questions for Shannon?
Sounds good.
Thanks, Shannon. I appreciate you.
I will say that they point this out, like you said, it's not just a matter of just getting them here. It's a matter of the businesses and the organizations. Like if we're talking about doctors, like you said, they can't just come here and practice right away. There has to be that education piece. So I mean, it will be a whole. I mean, it's going to take everybody for this to work in it. So,
Yeah,
So are
there's
these
still a transition
folks
involved.
are these folks in the education process now, or already have their education and practicing?
from what it sounds, from what I get, and we'll know a lot more once we sit down and talk about all the little details more than you can get in a presentation and just talking back and forth in that way. But these are people that are practicing and have that in their home country.
Degrees or whatever.
The problem is, though, that if you have a medical degree in your home country, it might not translate to a medical degree here. And so there has to be that bridge education, that whatever pieces go on. And that is going on in the other places that they are settling these refugees. So the process should be there. It's just getting everybody aligned with that process, and then getting the national level IRC to recognize that. I mean, kids, like you're saying, the draft picks are there. They've drafted these people. They're just putting them down in Dallas. They're not putting them up here for whatever reasons. And I think that maybe we can make a case to have them look to us.
Okay.
Right?
Thanks,
Thank
Shannon.
you.
Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is under old business. Would you like to update us where we are with our promotional video? I thought we would debut that this month.
We really
but-
hoped we would too. As of May 12th, Trevor did email us all. He has all of the footage in at that time and had the narrations recorded for the 2 voiceovers. So he really hoped he would have it all put together for us by this meeting, but it's not. So he said he's ready to stick a fork in it, are his words. So I think we'll have it very quickly and we'll be able to present it to you guys. So and we're excited about it. He said it turned out even better than he expected when he started putting everything together and getting the narrations in place and stuff. So he's excited about it, and obviously we are too. We have been using the short version of that with the school district, and DFA is actually using it now as well, sharing that with folks that have an interest in perhaps working with them. So it's a great opportunity to send out, as we hoped it would be. It kind of tells the story of Garden City to somebody who maybe has never been here or who has some different preconceived idea about what they expect to find here. So,
As you remember, we were talking originally about maybe a 7 to 10 minute version of this. Looks like this video is going to be about 20 minutes. So it's going to be a little more inclusive. It's going to be, about 40 minutes shorter than the old 1953 version of Here's Your City, Garden City. But I think it's going to be really, really great when we get it out to the public. I think it's going to be very well appreciated, and it's going to show the community and the county very well. So.
How long is that short version?
it's about 2 minutes.
So that might be something good for businesses
Oh, yeah.
that are presenting at a seminar or something to that nature.
Right.
To show that previous.
That's what we currently are using it for, that
Okay.
and they can send the link of it to, people who are looking at their company.
Okay.
They can send them the link to it so they can just get a feel for Garden City before they, before
Yeah, and
they.
she can get you the link to that if you want to use it as just a 2-minute thing for one of your employee training sessions or something like that, or if you've got people in from outside the community and you want to show it, it just, like I say, this about a 2-minute clip, but it's well put together also. And, you can just pull that off of the internet.
And we've had really, really good response
It's
back
had a lot
to
of,
that.
it's had a lot of exposure and
Yeah.
sure get to it, so.
Whatever happened to the deal with PBS, wasn't it?
They're working on theirs too. We met when was that, April that he came out and met with us?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was April,
Yeah.
either late March or early April, but they put that together really on their own.
But
We-
that'll be-
They're,
Yeah, we
they're
don't have to
working
do much
on
with it.
doing a little marketing and different things, and then I think they're also working currently on doing some filming and
Yeah.
different types of things.
At
So
that time, he told us
it's
he hoped to
still
be out here
moving forward.
to start filming in June or July. That was when he was hoping. Plus, he's got access to Trevor's footage if he needs to throw some event that he can't capture because of the time frame. He can get that too.
Any other questions on the promotional video? Okay. Lana and I attended the county commission at their first meeting this month and presented our budget to the commission, and they will be taking that under advisement when they start compiling their budget. Valuations are down especially in the mineral area, oil and gas. So they're seeing a real decline in that kind of thing. But I think we received very favorable reception from the county commission, and city commission as well has accepted our budget, and they're also taking that into consideration. So those two are in the mill. looks like we'll be able to keep the doors open next year again, hopefully. Commissioner, yeah, we're working on that. But we did present moderate budget, ask for a little bit of consideration, small increase, but we'll see how that goes. Our current budget is well within our budget guidelines that we prepared, and been able to hold our expenses down there very well. So we're in good shape there. As Lana mentioned, we've got some upcoming events. Tomorrow night at Clint Leitner Field, in conjunction with the Garden City Chamber, we are co-hosting kind of an open house. Come to the ball game, get a night out, having hot dogs and chips and water, and I think they're also having dollar beer night. If you're a Bud drinker, it'd be dollar beer night at the ball game. So
Are you looking at me?
Why am I looking at you? Oh, sorry.
I went last week.
You were there last week? Good. It wasn't dollar beer night though, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Get some
Oh,
extra
really?
Every
steps in.
And if
Thursday.
you buy enough, they'll put them in a bucket.
You got ice for the bucket?
Yeah, they do.
There you go.
Yeah. It was actually a really good time. It was the first time we gone.
So that really makes it a challenge why you want to really get out and be there and support the Garden City Wind. It's a very entertaining baseball. It's
We've got 4 employees hosting players.
good.
Very cool.
Staying in their homes. So that's good. I know a lot of
But I have
the
teenage
homes
daughters.
around town or in the community are
They're what?
are keeping.
We thought about it, and then someone turned around and goes, "You realize you have a teenage daughter still at home?" Never mind.
Bad idea.
I know your yard.
What are we supposed to do these? Just show up?
Just show up?
Just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's-
What time do those hot dogs need to be ready?
4:30 to
They need to
6.
be ready at 4:30? That's when they're starting, okay.
That's when they're starting serving hot dogs and stuff.
Phil is our grill
Phil is
man.
cooking.
Phil is a grill man. Well, it's nice that he knows what time they're supposed to be ready.
It's a good thing I knew that now.
Okay,
These are beef hot dogs, aren't they, Phil?
I have no
well,
idea.
I'm sure that the chamber wouldn't provide
They ain't
anything
chicken.
other than beef.
You know that much.
Not chicken, yeah. I get kind of. Newcomer Mingle.
Yes, we'd be
Talk
happy
about
to
that
explain
for
that a
just a
little bit. One of the things that's culminated out of the workforce connection discussions, especially the recruitment and retention group, is that a lot of times we hear from employers that they are able to recruit folks to come into the community, but then they never really find their place here. They don't become a part of the community, and then when they get another opportunity, they don't have any ties here, any loyalty to the community, so it's easy for them to transition and leave their employment again. So one of the things that we decided we would commit to is doing newcomer mingles, for lack of a better term, but just the opportunity for people who have been employed in Garden City, Finney County, less than a year, give them the opportunity to come together with others of like situations, and then just have those of us who are involved in the workforce connection and you know, even if there's volunteer groups, those kinds of things can come and be present and just help to make those people feel a little bit more a part of our community. Maybe find what they're interested in. You know, maybe they have some desire to help with Habitat for Humanity, but they didn't even know, you know, it was operational here, or whatever the case may be. So we hope that through those events we'll be able to not only make those folks feel like they're a part of our community, but also to highlight some of our area businesses. Our first one is so far scheduled to be at Il Giardino on June 30th, and it'll just be kind of a late afternoon, early evening networking hour, for lack of a better way to say that. So we're anxious to see how that works. We know that we'll do another one in September to help incorporate anybody that's new to the school district, the community college. You know, we know there are certain times of year when we have more folks coming into the community than other times. So we want to make sure that we hit those as well as we can. So that's what that is.
Tom, the only thing I would add to our upcoming events and so forth, that Sam and I have been involved, and Larry's been involved in Beef Empire Days that's coming up. And that brings in a lot of people to the community. Starts the 3rd of June through the 12th. And this is the 48th show. 2 more years and we'll hopefully hit 50. And I'd invite all of you out to attend some or all of it. I have plenty of activities.
Seeing a lot of the activities this year that have been in Stevens Park in the past are going to be on the West Green in Lee Richardson Zoo, there at the gazebo in that area down there.
Total change around on the parade. That's where everything will end up, is down in the park. The
Zoo, back down there.
So are they parading through the zoo, or how's that working?
My understanding is that if Mr. Cottrell gets 8th Street done out here, that they will go up 8th Street, back down Main Street and wind up down.
I think they'll use 9. They'll probably use 9.
They probably
He's telling you
will,
that they're not
yeah.
going to get it done.
Well, they can't, because we're gonna have that shut down because of the staging.
Well,
Never mind.
maybe we'll stage over here on Chestnut.
About 7th
Block
Street.
West, and yeah, maybe we'll use 7th Street, yeah. But it is a different makeup than what it has been, and Beef Empire Days is always a entertaining event, and if you thought you knew a little bit about livestock or cattle, you ought to go down and sit in the grandstand sometime and watch some of these events, because you'll find out there's a lot more presented there than you ever thought you might know or want to know. So it's
During that,
It's not as well promoted as it has been in the past, is it? I guess I haven't seen that much promotion
there
of it.
doesn't seem to have been a lot of advertising about it now. I don't think locally, I haven't seen anything. There used to be table tents and things that gave you a schedule of events. I haven't seen anything like that.
Cards and that kind of stuff. that we
maybe
passed
over the
out.
next couple of weeks or the next week or so, you'll start seeing a lot more of it.
That, during that same time frame, the B-17s are at the airport also.
Wow.
Yeah, from 9 to 6 each day, the 6th to the 13th.
Okay, our June board meeting set for June 22nd. Our July board meeting sounds like we may have to talk about that next month. Ray's going to be at the fair. Bob's going to be out of town on the 27th. So maybe we'll look at next month. Maybe we'll look at moving our July meeting up a week if that'll work better for everybody. Unless your cruise is going to be longer than that.
Do we need to come to you?
That'd be good.
Oh, we could do that.
That'd be good.
July and August, I'll be gone.
Okay, so we'll look at that in order to accommodate the most of the board that we can. Try to get that at a time where most of us can be here. So I would like to take probably 30 minutes for an executive session. Got some items that we need to discuss on client confidentiality, talk about some non-elected personnel things and a few things like that. If we could get a motion to adjourn, it's 8:13, go into executive session at 8:15 and plan on being back in open session at 8:45. And I don't anticipate that there will be any action taken on anything during executive session. So,
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
okay, we have a motion. We got a second. All in favor of the motion to adjourn into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll adjourn this meeting and